Welcome to iLecture Online. Well, here's another very interesting problem from the JEE advanced test. And let me tell you, I don't think this can be done in 3 minutes unless you're very clairvoyant into this particular topic. It has to do with a spring, a mass attached to a spring, moving back and forth. There's a collision, and they want to know what the time elapsed is from the start at various points along that path of motion. Well, let's read the problem together and figure out how to solve this problem. A particle of mass m is attached to one end of a massless spring of force constant k lying on a frictionless horizontal plane. The other end of the spring is fixed. The particle starts moving horizontally from its equilibrium position at time equals 0 with an initial velocity v sub naught. When the speed of the particle is half of that, half v sub naught, it collides elastically with a rigid wall. After this collision, and here are 4 possible answers, any one of them which could be correct. It could be anywhere from 1 to 4 being correct. Which of these 4 are correct? So first of all, let's draw a little diagram of what is actually happening, because sometimes doing a visual perspective on things makes things easier. So we have a spring attached on one end. On the other end, it's attached to a mass, m. It starts at the equilibrium position, EP for equilibrium position, and then it starts out this way with some initial velocity v sub naught. And then at some point, it's going to collide elastically with a rigid object. At this point, v equals v sub naught divided by 2. It's going to collide like this, and then it's going to bounce back. But remember, it collides elastically, which means no energy lost in the collision. So the first answer is the speed of the particle when it returns to its equilibrium point is v sub naught. We're talking about, of course, the magnitude, because it'll be a negative v sub naught if you think about it in terms of vectors. But the magnitude, the speed, which means only the magnitude, is v sub naught. Well, notice that when the particle reaches back to the equilibrium point, everything should be the same. The potential energy at that point is the same, and since no energy lost here, the kinetic energy at that point must be the same as well, which means the velocity must be the same, which means that A is indeed a correct statement. So that's fairly straightforward. What about part B, C, and D? Now they're asking for the time being a certain amount at 3 different positions. The first one, when the particle passes through the equilibrium position, is time equal to that, assuming time equals 0 at the beginning of the motion. Then, what is the time when the particle reaches this point right here? That's the maximum compression, that's C. And what is the time when it passes through the equilibrium point a second time? Which of those 3 statements is correct? And of course, at this point, since A is already correct, B, C, and D could all be wrong. So which of these is potentially correct? So the idea is that if you start at the equilibrium point with some initial velocity v sub naught, how long will it take to reach this point relative to the period of the oscillation? So if we draw a sine curve representing the position, and notice the position is 0, at time equals 0, so we have something that looks like this. So this would be x. This would be the displacement x as a function of time. And then notice the equation for that would be that x as a function of time is equal to the amplitude times the sine of omega t. Now there's no phase angle because it starts at t equals 0 at the equilibrium point, so when this is 0, the displacement will be 0, so that works out. But what does the velocity equation look like? Well, we know that the velocity as a function of time is equal to the derivative of the position as a function of time, which would make it a omega times the cosine of omega t. And remember that omega is equal to the square root of k over m. Okay, so if we graph that graph, it will look like this. The cosine starts at maximum amplitude and goes down like this. And notice that normally if this was free to oscillate back and forth, when it reaches its maximum displacement, the velocity would be 0. But it's not going to reach its maximum displacement because it's going to collide at the point where the velocity, this is v initial, the maximum velocity, and this is a half of maximum velocity. So where in the period does that occur? Now, because this is a sine curve, a cosine curve, we know that the cosine of 60 degrees is equal to 1/2. That means that 60 degrees have passed in terms of 360 degrees. So 60 divided by 360 is 1/6 of a period. So this would mean 1/6 of a period. Now, what is a period? Well, we know that the frequency is related to omega as follows. We know that omega is equal to 2 pi times the frequency, and we know that the frequency is equal to 1 over the period. So that means that omega is equal to 2 pi divided by the period. Or the period is equal to 2 pi divided by omega, and since omega is equal to the square root, where is it? Right here, the square root of k over m, 1 over omega would simply mean 2 pi times the square root of m over k. So that's the period. So it takes 1/6 of a period to go from there to there. It collides with something hard, and then it goes back. It takes 1/6 of a period to come back. It's the same amount of time to come back. That's 2/6 of a period. So it goes back to the equilibrium point. So for part B, time is equal to 2/6 of a period, which is equal to 1/3 of a 1/3. I write 1/2. Let's try that again. 1/3 of a period, and a period is 2 pi times m over k. So 1/3 of that would be 2 pi over 3 times the square root of m over k. So that should be the answer for part B. And notice this does not match this, so B is not correct. Now, going from here to the farthest displacement right here, to the maximum compression, that's going to take another 1/4 of a period. Because now we can divide things in 1/4 of a period. 1/4 of a period to go here, 1/4 to go there, 1/4 to go there. There was no wall and so forth, right? So each part of that takes 1/4 of a period. So for part C, time is going to be 2/6 t, or I should write 1/3 t, that would be better. 1/3 t plus 1/4 t. Well, 1/3 and 1/4, that would be 4/12 plus 3/12 is equal to 7/12 t. Let's see here, is that correct? That would be 4/12 plus 3/12 is 7/12 t. So, and t is equal to 2 pi, so that would be equal to 7 pi over 6 times the square root of m over k. So that means that that's how much time has elapsed when we get to the maximum compression. So, is that the answer we got for C? We get 4 pi over 3 times the square root of m over k, 7 pi over 6, not the same, so C is not correct either. Finally, the time for it to go back to the equilibrium point on the way back, that's another 1/4 t. So now we have, for D, we have time is equal to 7/12 t plus another 1/4 t. That would be 3/12 or 10/12 t. And of course, 10/12 t multiplied t is equal to 2 pi. So 10/12 t times 2 pi, that would be 10, let's see here, 10 over 6 pi times the square root of m over k. And of course, 10 over 6 is equal to 5 over 3 pi times the square root of m over k. And notice, yes, indeed, that is the exact answer we got for time in answer D. So answer D is correct. So A and D are correct, B and C are wrong. And sure enough, I'm sure that this took more than 3 minutes to figure out. But again, how did we solve it? First of all, a quick visual of what's going on. Notice that when the object hits this point right here, when it hits a rigid object, there's an elastic collision, no energy lost. It has now half the velocity, And then if we draw a quick sine curve to represent position and a quick velocity curve to represent velocity, we realize that it reaches half velocity after 60 degrees, because the cosine of 60 is 1/2. 60 degrees is the same as pi over 3 essentially. And so we know that in 1/6 of a period we get the collision. We take 1/6 of a period, come back, which is 2/6 or 1/3 of a period, to make the trip back to the equilibrium position. And so then we go 2/6 or 1/3 period. The period can be figured out by saying that omega is equal to the square root of k over m. And the relationship between omega and frequency can be written like this. So frequency can also be written as 1 over the period. And omega is therefore 2 pi over the period, or the period is equal to 2 pi over omega, which is 2 pi over the square root of m over k. It would be the inverse, of course, of omega, because it's 1 over omega. And then we figure out how much time it takes in terms of periods to go from here to here and back. That is 2/6 of a period, or 1/3 of a period. Then it takes a quarter of a period to go from there to there. So we add a quarter to a third, and then it takes a quarter of a period to get back over here, which we add another quarter, and then finally we realized that we got the right answer for part D, but the wrong answers for B and C. And that is how that's done. Quite a problem, huh?